Yo, so we are still currently, like, in the drought when it comes to the One Piece manga and the anime, so let me make a video real quick comparing the two most recent, like, completed arcs, since I can cook up some, stupid, controversial opinion that, just pisses everybody off, because, you know, that's always fun. So, let's start out from the beginning of both arcs. So, the structure of Wano, for better or for worse, is way different from every other arc in One Piece. Yeah, like, the same typical things happen. They arrive, they explore the new area, and they kill the bad guy. That's pretty much what happens in every One Piece arc. But it's broken into acts, which is pretty interesting. Like, Act 1 is pretty much just, like, arriving and shit and running around. I was personally a pretty big fan of Act 1 and 2, and there were definitely parts I didn't like, but the Odin flashback was definitely probably like the highlight of the entire arc for me, and that is Act 2. And for Egghead, it also takes like a pretty unusual approach compared to other arcs. Not quite as different as Wano, but still different. So Egghead took like a more pre-time skip-esque start. Just way more fast-paced. We get there, learn the problem, we do all there is. We do all that very quickly, which I can't lie, I prefer that way of storytelling a lot more than the slower Wano style. Not only that, but we also see shit happening around the world. In the beginning and middle of Egghead, like the Reverie, like Garp, Kuzan, Shark, Shank, I almost said Sharks and Kid. I mean, shit, he's in the fucking water, so might as well. But Shanks and Kid, there's just so much going on. Oh yeah, Law and Blackbeard, just everybody's doing shit. It's just way too eventful to not like. It doesn't feel rushed either. In other arcs like Wano, it kind of felt like the whole world was on pause until Luffy beat Kaido. In Egghead, it doesn't really feel like that at all. Shit is happening at every given moment, and it just makes the whole world feel more alive and gives the feeling that the whole world is really going to shit, which it is. It's the final saga after all. And of course, Egghead has its own version of the Odin flashback as well, with the Kuma one, and honestly, there's no wrong answer. You could pick either one, which is better. It's really a toss-up. Kuma's was definitely more like emotional, and it was pretty hyped up. We've been waiting for it for a fucking while. But Odin's had Prime, Roger, and Whitebeard in it. Come on, like that shit went hard as well. But now let's compare the antagonists of both Wano and Egghead. So of course, Wano's was Kaido. Okay, everybody knows Kaido very well because we saw him for fucking 600 episodes straight. And I guess Big Mom was also a villain or whatever, but it's 99% Kaido. So Kaido, I think overall as a character, is a pretty big fumble. I made a video about it before. He just isn't as interesting as he could be, and it's a shame because he is super fucking cool, and he has a crazy dragon powers and shit. You can't, like, hate Kaido for, like, his fighting style or whatever, but his backstory sucks, and his reason for doing whatever he's doing is just not good enough for me. It's not very good. And then for Egghead, we got the Gorosei, or we could just, like, narrow it down to just Saturn, I guess, as, like, the main one. So, to me personally, I do like most of the Gorosei, but there comes a point where a villain can just be too evil. Like a villain, in order for me to like them, somewhat has to show like some type of human vulnerability, and Saturn just does not have that whatsoever. He does absolutely horrible, horrendous shit, like tormenting Kuma his entire life just because he talked shit about him when he was 6 years old. Like, why did he do that? I mean, it's because he's evil, of course, but why is he evil? God fucking knows. He's just a bad celestial dragon, it's what they do. Even Doffy has more reason to be evil than Gorosei. It just, I don't know, it's a little ridiculous for me. I think that's just a pretty bad excuse when it comes to villains. I get it that Saturn's coldness and inhuman nature is kind of like the point of his appeal, but it just becomes too much for me a lot of the time. Like, at least with Kaido, you could see he's kind of like a broken person. He's a masochist that can't feel pain because he's too goddamn strong. He's just a brute who likes to fight strong people, and sometimes the simplicity in that is better than a cartoonishly evil old man to me. I don't know, just my opinion. But anyway, now the ending. So this is kind of rough for me because I'm not a huge fan of either ending, and I don't think there's like a ending to an arc that I love other than, like, you know, like the huge ones like Marineford and Sabaody and all those ones. But the path to the ending in Wano was way longer than it should have been, but the ending itself wasn't like super bad. The ending was also like pretty drawn out quite a bit with the Vegapunk message in Egghead. Obviously Saturn dying was pretty fucking huge, but that was like kind of after Egghead, but I'll count it in the little Egghead, you know, circle. But the path to the ending in Egghead was a lot better, and the reveal of the Goroseis pulling up was pretty crazy, if you could consider that as the ending of Egghead. Just the overall gravity of the situation in Egghead was a lot higher. It was a huge deal. The stakes were way higher. Like, we were seeing the guys we have wanted to see in action since damn near day one, just going at it. We saw all their forms and shit. So I gotta give Eggheads a slight edge, but it's pretty close. You know, obviously the reveal of Gear 5 and all the Nika shit was pretty huge. But yeah, that's about it. I think I'd rank Egghead a little bit above Wano, but not by too much. I think if Wano had all of the bullshit cut out and was probably like half of the length that it ended up being, I'd like it a lot more. But chapter next week, no more filler episodes.